Dzień dobry, Szanowni Państwo, z tej strony Dominik Prokop z
Ladies and
Departamentu
gentlemen,
Relacji
Dominik
Inwestorskich i
Prokop
Nadzoru
of Investor
Właścicielskiego.
Relations.
Witam wszystkich
I would
bardzo
like to
serdecznie na
welcome
konferencji
everyone
wynikowej
to our
Alior Banku
conference,
po pierwszym półroczu
Alior Bank
2023 roku.
Results
Tradycyjnie
Conference
w
after the first
pierwszej
half
części naszej
2023.
konferencji
Traditionally,
wyniki
in the
banku
first
oraz
part of our
najważniejsze
conference, you'll hear
trendy
about the
i taki ogólny
results
przekaz, jaki towarzyszy
and
tym
some
wynikom,
major trends
zaprezentują
and some
przedstawiciele
comments
zarządu banku,
regarding our
którymi
results.
są
And this will be presented by
Grzegorz Olszewski,
Grzegorz
prezes zarządu Alior
Olszewski,
Banku,
CEO at Alior
Tomasz
Bank,
Mikles,
Tomasz
wiceprezes
Mikles,
i CRO,
VP
Radomir
CRO,
Gibała,
Radomir
wiceprezes
Gibała,
odpowiedzialny za
VP
finanse.
for
W drugiej
Finance.
części naszego
Then in the
spotkania po
second part
zakończeniu
of our meeting,
prezentacji
after the
przejdziemy do
presentation is
części
over,
Q&A.
we will
Zanim
move on
oddam
to
głos
Q&A.
prezesowi Grzegorzowi,
Before I give the
zachęcam
floor
wszystkich
to the
Państwa
CEO,
serdecznie do
Grzegorz,
zadawania pytań już
I
w
would like
trakcie
to
tej pierwszej
encourage you
części,
to think of
bo dzięki
questions,
czemu
ask
płynnie
questions
przejdziemy do tej
already during the
części
first part,
Q&A.
because once
Grzegorz, bardzo proszę
you've
o
asked them, we
zabranie
will
głosu.
then be able to
Dziękuję,
move
Dominik.
smoothly
Dzień dobry Państwu.
to Q&A.
Witam
Dominic,
Państwa serdecznie
everyone,
na konferencji
good morning.
wynikowej
I would like to
podsumowującej
welcome you
pierwsze
to our
półrocze
results
i drugi
conference after the first
kwartał.
half 2023 and the
Pierwszy slajd,
second
przejdziemy do
quarter
wyników,
2023. Let's move on
które
to
Państwo
discussing
znacie, są
the results
bardzo
you've
dobre
already
za
seen,
drugi
I guess.
kwartał.
Very good
Ja
results
może
for the
zwrócę
second quarter.
uwagę na
Let me
wzrost
just point
wyniku
out
prowizyjnego
to our
rok do roku,
commission related
wyniku
results
odsetkowego
year
oczywiście,
on
który
year.
wynika w dużej mierze ze wzrostu stóp
And this
procentowych, ale nie
mostly
tylko.
results from
Ja
increasing
myślę, że
interest
warto zwrócić
rates.
uwagę, że w drugim
So
kwartale
interest income is
zoptymalizowaliśmy
growing,
koszt
but also
finansowania,
let me tell you
co
that in
miało
the second
pozytywny
quarter we
wpływ
optimized our
na wyniki banku.
financing costs, which also had a
Przechodząc
positive
może do
impact on our
wskaźników
results.
i
So let
do,
me move on to
do
some of the
podsumowania
key
tego pierwszego półrocza,
indicators
które było
to
bardzo,
sum up the
bardzo
first
dobre,
half of
zarówno w
2023
obszarze ryzyka,
for you. And
NPL
this
poniżej
was
10%,
very good
rok
in
do
terms
roku
of
obniżka
risk.
ponad 1 punkt
NPL
procentowy. Ta poprawa
was
profilu
lower by 1
ryzyka
percentage
banku została
point.
już
So
dostrzeżona
our
chociażby przez
risk
agencję
profile
ratingową
has been
S&P, która
improved, and
podniosła
S&P, for example,
rating.
noticed it, and they've
Jesteśmy
increased
silnym
our
bankiem
rating. We
kapitałowo.
are a strong bank,
Ta
capital-wise.
poprawa profilu ryzyka
When it comes to
banku
our risk
jest
profile,
prowadzona, ale
we
nie
have been
kosztem,
trying to improve it, of
marży.
course, and we have been
Nim
doing this,
powyżej
but of course not at the
6%.
expense of our margins.
Staramy
Non-interest
się, żeby
margin
właśnie
over
ta konwersja,
6%,
żeby profil
and
obniżyć
well,
się,
we
Alior
do
Banku,
want
ale
to
zachować
lower our
wysoką
risk profile,
rentowność.
but of course maintaining
To nie
high
jest łatwe
profitability. This is what
ćwiczenie
we've been
oczywiście,
trying to
żeby
do.
ta
This exercise is
odbudować
hardly
lepszej jakości
easy
aktywa,
to build
a
better
również
quality
utrzymać tą,
of
tą
assets,
wysoką
maintaining
marżowość.
high
Cały czas
margins
nam
and
się
high
to,
profitability.
udaje
Difficult
i z tego
exercise, but
jesteśmy,
nonetheless we've been
dumni, że,
succeeding so
że
far,
Alior przechodzi
and
tak
this
szybką,
does make us proud
tą,
that Alior
transformację.
has been transforming so
Kredytów,
quickly.
pracujących,
When it comes
wzrósł,
to
pomimo,
performing loans,
środowiska
it has
wysokich
grown,
stóp procentowych,
even though we have
ograniczonej
high interest
zdolności,
rates, even
kredytowej,
though we
szczególności w
have
obszarze klienta indywidualnego,
creditworthiness
pogarszającego
issues
się
for
makro.
retail
Chociaż
customers,
myślę, nie
some
na tyle
macro
pogarszającego, na tyle,
outlooks are
jakie były
also
prognozy.
deteriorating. Maybe it's not as bad as the forecasts
Wysoki ROE, o
indicated,
którym
but
myślę
still.
trochę więcej powie
So
Tomek, jeśli
ROE,
chodzi
pretty
o,
high, and Tomasz will tell
koszty
you more
ryzyk,
about it. When it
Radek,
comes to,
przepraszam, a jeśli chodzi o
sorry,
koszty
Radek will tell you
ryzyka,
about it. When it
który
comes
powie
to
więcej
cost of
Tomek,
risk,
na
this will be
bardzo niskim
discussed by
poziomie,
Tomasz.
na którym miały
Very low
oczywiście
level, I would have
zdarzenia
to say.
jednorazowe,
And of course, it
ale
was
również,
influenced by
perspektywy
some
drugiego półrocza
one-off
są lepsze, niż
events, but I would say
zakładaliśmy,
the outlook for the second half of
i w
the
dalszej
year
części
is
prezentacji
better than
będziemy
we
Państwu
initially
chcieli
assumed, and in the second part of our
jakie są nasze
presentation, we will
oczekiwania na najbliższe
explain
kwartały.
our
W obszarze klienta
expectations for the coming
indywidualnego
quarters. When it
to
comes
przede
to
wszystkim
retail
wzrost rok do
customers,
roku sprzedaży pożyczki
our
gotówkowej o 20%.
cash loans are growing year
Za
on
chwilę
year,
Państwu pokażę, jak
20%,
to przełożyło się
and
na
you will
saldo
see
pożyczki.
that how this translated
kredytów
into
hipotecznych
our
nadal
loan
na,
balance.
stosunkowo niskim poziomie
Mortgage
na całym
loan
rynku,
sales
co
at
oczywiście
quite a low level, but it pertains
jest
to the whole
zauważalne.
market.
Widzimy ożywienie,
Definitely something
nawet
that you
nie biorąc
notice.
pod uwagę
We see a
już
little
trzeciego
bit
kwartału,
of a
bo tu będzie
rebound.
miał wyraźny
I'm not
wpływ ten
talking about the
kredyt
third
2%.
quarter, because the third quarter
To
will be
oczywiście
very much
zwiększenie
influenced by
zdolności
the so-called
kredytowej,
2%
tego
loan.
buforu, jak i
But
również wzrost
definitely
wynagrodzeń, czy
wages are
no, też
growing,
pewne
so this
przyzwyczajenia,
might
bo
lead to
ten
a rebound.
wysokich
And
stóp procentowych,
well,
przez
people have
klientów,
gotten used to high interest
wysokości
rates
tej
already, I would say, and they
pewnego
might have
zrozumienia
gotten used to the
powoduje, że nie
fact that
można
their
w
monthly
nieskończoność
payments
odkładać
are
swoich potrzeb
getting
mieszkaniowych.
higher,
W
but
związku z
still they
tym,
cannot postpone
ten
their
rynek trochę się ożywił, ale
residential
oczywiście
needs
to
or
nie
housing
znalazł
needs
nadal
forever. But still,
na
the
tym
market is a
poziomie
little bit
stosunkowo
uh,
niskim.
It's going up, but still is at a very low level. We've gotten back to consumer finance loans. We're selling them again. And I told you during the previous conference that the first quarter was a deliberate decision. I'll tell you more. When it comes to mortgage loans, in the second quarter, we got back to the level of the second quarter of 22, and then quarter to quarter, it's improved. So we see a revival, let's say, but we're not taking into account the so-called 2% loan. We assume that in the third and the fourth quarter, the sales of mortgage loans will increase thanks to this 2% mortgage loan. So, cash loans quarter to quarter 6%, year to year around 20%. A lot has been sold online. And when you look at the balance quarter to quarter, this decreasing trend was reversed. So actually high sales is making up for loss of balance, let's say. Of course, it's critical for us to stabilize the balance of these loans. Of course, we want to develop them and so on and so on. But being the leader in this area, it's always difficult to defend your position, especially that we're trying to lower customer risk profile and maintain high profitability from this portfolio, which is a balancing act, which is a difficult exercise, and we have to invest a lot in credit risk systems and online sales systems. And we have been doing so, of course. It's part of our strategy. And you can see the results. So now let's talk about consumer finance. First quarter, we just decided to let it go because our competitors decided to sell these loans at very low prices. So we decided not to get into that. We didn't want to do this. And come second quarter, we got back, let's say, but this kind of pricing policy is unsustainable. So right now in the second half, or come the second half, we are at the right place. And this will, of course, have a good impact on cash loans, because those who go for CF loans very often go for cash loans. So what we've built in the second quarter, the base that we've built in the second quarter should help us in Q3 and Q4 when it comes to consumer finance. Definitely customer relations. This is very important for us. We are revamping our mobile app, and we're delivering services that will improve customer relations. We are bank of first choice for more and more customers. And when you look at the number of motorway journeys or tickets bought through our mobile app, it's growing by 30, even 40%. The personal accounts sales growth by over 20%. And of course, our mobile culture. Already many customers are using us only through the mobile app, and we've revamped it, as I said, so customers often like to go back to it. And there's over 1 million of customers who are active users of our app. Year on year, this has grown by 20%, and it's one of the fastest paces of digitalization in the sector. So let me tell you about the number of transfers that were initiated in the Alior mobile app, nearly 20% up. So people don't just log on, they really and stop using it, or register and stop using it, but they really initiate transactions, handle operations through the mobile app. The number of BLIK transactions has been growing, well, nearly 40%. When it comes to retail customers, as I told you, the first half of this year, business-wise, was very successful, but it was also very successful from the point of view of implementations. When we implement a new solution, usually we are the first mover, first to market with
jesteśmy w tej
this
grupie
solution,
banków, które
or we
robią
are, let's say,
to
one
równie szybko.
of a few
Wdrożyliśmy
pioneers.
bezpieczny kredyt
We have
2%.
introduced the
Liczymy na
2% safe mortgage
udany
loan,
wynik,
and we're hoping
biznesowy
for
w
a
tym
good
obszarze. Myślę, że na
business
takie
outcome.
podsumowanie przyjdzie pewnie
And I
czas
think
po
there will be a
czwartym
moment for us
kwartale.
to recap,
Teraz
and it
głównie
will
jest
happen
okres napływu
after the
wniosków, decyzji
fourth
kredytowych,
quarter. Right now,
i
we're
decyzji
just
dotyczących klientów, wyboru
collecting
nieruchomości. Jest pewnie zbyt wcześnie, żeby
applications.
podawać
It's
pierwsze liczby, jeśli
so
chodzi
we cannot
o
give you
wolumen.
any specific numbers in terms of
Po trzecim
volumes,
kwartale będą
but
pierwsze
after
wyniki, które będziemy
Q3,
pewnie Państwu pokazywać, a
we'll
czwartym
already
będzie taki
have
szerszy
some
obraz,
initial
żeby
results, and after
zaprezentować.
Q4,
Wdrożyliśmy również
we'll
konto
be able to
mieszkaniowe.
present you a
Oczywiście
bigger
uważam
picture.
bardzo
We have
dobry,
also introduced a
projekt,
home
promujący
savings account,
długoterminowe
which is
oszczędzanie.
a
Myślę,
nice
to
project that
promocja
promotes
długoterminowego
long-term saving
oszczędzania wśród
habits.
dzieci już
And I
jest
think
jednym,
it's
myślę,
good
powinno
to
być jednym z
promote this
priorytetów
habit
też w
among
tym
children.
wymiarze
It should
S,
be one of
dla
our
banków, w tym
priorities.
wymiarze społecznym, żeby budować
It's
kulturę
the S
długoterminowego
in your
oszczędzania,
ESG, building
bo w
a
Polsce
culture and
nie wykształciła
educating
się-
young people
nie
about
wykształcił się
long-term
rynek
savings,
długoterminowego,
because in Poland
oszczędzania
we don't
czy
have that
finansowania też
all
ze
that
strony banku.
much.
W związku z tym wszystkie takie
And
projekty, które służą
banks
temu,
are not
są-
funding it so
są
much. So
istotnie,
any project to raise awareness
dobre i
around the
wpływają,
topic,
myślę, wpłyną pozytywnie w długim
any
terminie
projects
na,
like this are good
e,
ones
na PKB
and
w
will
Polsce.
in turn lead to
Obszar
a
klienta
better,
biznesowego
healthier
to jest ten
GDP in
obszar, który
Poland.
myślę Państwa
Business
też szczególnie
customers,
interesuje.
I think this is
Ponieważ
something
tu
that should be
komunikujemy
of
od
great
dłuższego
interest to
czasu,
you.
że nie będzie
In
silnego
this
banku
segment,
uniwersalnego,
we've been
jeśli nie będzie silnego
communicating
obszaru
that
klienta
you don't
biznesowego.
have a
Filar
good,
wsparcia
versatile,
przedsiębiorczości,
strong, versatile bank without
zakłada
a strong
inwestycje zarówno w
business
obszary,
customer segment. So we're
ryzyka kredytowego,
investing in
tak żeby
credit
to
risk, for
finansowanie, które
example,
udzielamy,
to make sure that the
było na
funding we grant
niskim koszcie
is
ryzyka,
happening
żeby te aktywa
at
były
a
wysokiej
low cost of
jakości.
risk. We want to
Chcemy rosnąć w tych segmentach, w
attract
których
high
budujemy
quality
te nasze
assets, and we
kompetencje
want to grow
lub
in
rozwijać te, które
segments
już te
in
kompetencje
which we
mamy.
are building new
Głównie
competences
koncentrujemy się
or
właśnie na budowie
segments
tam,
in
gdzie
which
możemy
we already
zdobyć
have
całą relację,
solid competences, and
albo
we
być
want
tym
to
bankiem
capture
relacyjnym, czyli
the
to jest
whole
ten,
relationship.
pewnie nie
We want
najwyższy
to be
segment,
the relationship
ale
bank.
również
It may
chcemy
not
rosnąć
be
z
the top
klientami.
segment, but we
I to
want
jest
to
dla nas
grow
istotne.
together with our customers. So
W
whenever
tych
we
warstwach,
acquire customers, we
w
want
tych
to
warstwach
acquire the whole
zaangażowań
relationship.
Do 20 milionów, do 20
And we're
milionów.
talking about
Rośniemy 3 razy szybciej niż rynek.
commitments up to 20 million
To jest
euro,
bardzo dobry
20
wynik
million
tego
zlotys,
pierwszego,
and we're growing
półrocza.
three
Chcielibyśmy oczywiście
times
go utrzymać,
faster
to
than the
łatwo nie
market.
będzie, ale
We would like to
to jest
maintain
konsekwentna,
it.
świadoma
It's not
realizacja
going to be
strategii.
easy,
Tam jesteśmy w
but
stanie być po
this is
prostu
the way
bankiem
we're
pierwszego,
executing our strategy,
wyboru.
because
Mamy ponad
this is where we want to
9%
be
udziału rynku w warstwie
people's
zaangażowań do
bank
5
of first choice.
milionów.
And
To
up to
wynika
5 million,
wszystkim
over
również z naszych
9% market
kompetencji.
share in
Alior
commitments
historycznie budował
up
tę
to 5
kompetencję,
million.
ma kompetencje i
We
wie, w
have
jaki
been
sposób
building
dokonywać
these
oceny,
competences. We
profilu
know
ryzyka tego,
how
tych
to
klientów.
assess the
I
risk
ponad
profile
4%
of those
udział rynku,
customers.
wyższy
And
w
we have
warstwach
over
powyżej 20
4% market share in
milionów.
higher ranges. So we're talking about
Do tej pory
commitments
głównie byliśmy
over
skoncentrowani na segmencie
20
budownictwa.
million. We've been focused on
Budujemy kompetencje w innych
we've been
obszarach.
focused
Przekłada się
on,
to na wymierne
construction
efekty
as
w
well,
segmencie przetwórstwo rośniemy
but
2 razy
we're
szybciej
growing in
niż rynek. Chcemy
processing as
zdywersyfikować
well,
nasze aktywa,
and
tak
we
żeby
want to
zarówno pod
diversify
względem
our
marżowości, jak
assets.
i
So
również
in
ryzyka
terms
one
of
były,
margins
dały
and in
wymierny
terms of risks,
efekt i
we want to
były
have
zauważalne w
good
wynikach
results and
kolejnych
something that
kwartałów.
can be noticed in our
Nowe
results in
limity
the quarters to
kredytowe,
come.
wzrost rok do roku
New credit
ponad
limit
30%. To
increased
jest
by
bardzo dobry,
30%, over
wynik.
30%. This is a very good
Oczywiście
result.
konwersja tych
And of
limitów
course, the
będzie
conversion
następować
of
w
those
kolejnych
limits is
kwartałach,
going
tak
to
żeby
progress in the
budować
next
aktywa
quarters so
pracujące.
that we build our working assets.
To jest możliwe
This
dzięki
is
temu,
possible
że
thanks
budujemy
to the fact that
również
we're
duży
building
customer service,
big
który,
customer
ma
service,
odciążyć,
which is supposed
pracowników
to
sprzedaży
unburden our
od codziennych,
employees from
czynności.
their everyday
Blisko,
duties, so
50%
that close to
dyspozycji jest
50%
zrealizowanych w
of
formule zdalnej w
orders
obszarze
are
klienta
executed
biznesowego.
remotely
Ta relacyjność, która
within
jest
the
zapisana w
business
strategii,
customer.
już
This
przynosi wymierne
effectiveness
efekty.
that is inscribed in the
Najlepszym
strategy is
odzwierciedleniem
already
jest tego
bringing
usługa Bank
tangible
Connect. To pełna integracja systemu
results. This is Bank
księgowo-finansowego
Connect, the best
systemem
as the best example. This is an internet banking. Bank Connect increases year on year, that's plus 41%, and quarter on quarter it's plus 18%, and that shows high dynamics of this sector, and we want to build this relation of online banking solutions, and it will translate into our customers growing with us, and it will also translate into the positive commission result. We are also developing and automating processes of decisions in new sales. This again translates into clients' satisfaction and improvement of the quality of the assets. In the small and the medium segment, we are growing year on year, and we are growing quarter on quarter, and we want to maintain this trend, even though it is one that's quite demanding, so that we want to be ready in case when economy speeds up, and maybe part of our competitors are also thinking about optimizing those areas due to the challenges that we are facing. We have a very strong asset and capital position, and we want to use this leg and build on it. And the balance of assets in the debt execution is actually here in the high dynamics, strong dynamics. That only proves that this transformation of the bank, when we are reducing the cost of risk with at the same time maintaining high profitability, shows that it's a good direction. We of course want to maintain that as well. We would like to maintain this effectiveness. I believe it's going to be quite a challenge, but we are determined to maintain that. When we talk about new implementation, we had a very good first half of the year. According to the strategy, we have been very consistent with implementing new online banking services, and thanks to that we have a growing number of our online consumers. Thanks to that we have a growing number of customers who perceive us as their first choice bank, and we have the system Alior Online, Alior Mobile, and it has been proven to be very successful. We have had some challenges. We've already verified it, and we're going to have it adopted for the whole market and its needs. When we talk about social responsibility, that has been a very successful half a year in many dimensions, whether we supported new talents, whether we cooperated with universities, whether helping those who suffered the most as a result of the war in Ukraine. These are regions such as Przemysl, and these can also be very interesting aspects of promoting new talents and finding new talents. But we also had health programs or women appreciation programs. So not only do we appreciate our female clients, but also our female employees. So here, as an example, Pink Boxes project. So it's important to put our words into actions and be consistent in implementing them. And we just want to put an emphasis that those initiatives are very diverse, and we want to support any social group in Poland and each social group in Poland, and want to be an attractive bank for our customers. So we implemented a lot of innovative and attractive products, and that has been appreciated. The first half of the year brought us a lot of awards, both home and abroad, and we have to say that we're especially proud of those that are about technology and innovation, because we believe that the main step that we can make here, this is in the technological area. This is something that's not maybe that visible to you, ladies and gentlemen, but I believe it's going to be more noticeable in many other areas, and also in the mortgage policy. To sum up, the first half, very successful one, both when we talk about the risk results, Tomek is going to talk about it in a second, but also when we talk about optimizing costs of financing, Radek will say a bit more. And also Tomek, this is a part of his presentation, and implementation of initiative that will have a positive translation into the results of the bank. Tomek, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. One more time, a warm welcome to all of you. The last quarter and the past half was very good results on the cost of risk. Tier 1 over 14%, TCR over 15%, and that is 551 base points and 446 base points, which translates adequately into 2.6 billion and 2.1 billion. If we already summed up all those capitals and the results, that would already be 220 base points. That would be TC round around that. When we talk about TCR, we had already emission that, and LCR also, and NSFR. Those tools already satisfy our needs for 2023. When we talk about our LCR and NSFR liquidity ratios, they are both satisfactory. This is 169 and 179 with the regulations on 100%. When we talk to the cost of risk, another quarter here with the improvement of the results, NPL of the bank on the historic of the group, really, on the reduction is on the historic level of 9.39. When we take a broader perspective, this is improved from 14.5 to 9.5, so this is 1/3 reduction. When we talk about the cost of risk itself, in 2020 that was 2.8, and 2021 that was also within the low aspect, that was 1.6, and in 2023 that was 1.28, that was the lowest historical result again. It is important to mention that we had two instances that improved this result. That was the sale of the portfolio NPL with profit, but also two very nice unexpected to business customers negotiations and their results. I would like to tell, we were telling you that the current situation does not have an impact on the increase of costs of risk of Alior Bank, and we can see that our long-term efforts on improving our assets have given results, and we are ready right now to activate our guidance for the second half, and we are not expecting our costs of risk to exceed 1.4% with the strategic goal of 1.6%. When we get deeper into the cost of risk in the last quarters, impaired loans, when we had quarter-on-quarter, as I mentioned, we finished on 945 the second quarter in 2033. When we talk about our business line, we have NPL with a very nice level, 53%, and then NPL for our customer, for our business customer, this is a huge increase here and versus last year, and we are continuing our efforts to reduce this risk still. When we talk about our impaired loans, that was 16.10%. When we take into our segments, we have a smaller reduction in the retail individual customers, but for the business customer, this NPL is very stable, around 50%. What is important, more than 1/4 part of our portfolio in KB is guaranteed by BGK. That means that in the future we'll be able to use those guarantees to reduce costs of NPL, and right now it is enough to have the provision coverage, and those when we don't have it, this is the level of 62.8%. Then costs of risk are after a delicate peak, we have a reduction again, and we can see these really good results in the second quarter, both in the books and with including those negative one-off trends and events. And you can see the trends that our business customer has a consistent improvement. When we had a situation when the interest rates were peaking, then we had a slight of a peak, and then after the interest rates were slower, then we had a better result here as well. To sum up, a very nice situation, a very good credit portfolio management with tangible results in the loan segment, impaired loan segments, and quite low NPL and COR indicators. And that is all from me. Thank you very much. And Tomek, the floor is yours. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So income statement. One more time, we take a look at that. Grzegorz already mentioned the key indicators. I would like to sum it up a little bit. As we mentioned in the previous quarters, if the quarter is going to be good without any events, then this is good, everything is going well, then we definitely want to use this opportunity, and this is the situation that we are actually facing. And since that, we have this profit of 506 million PLN, which is supported additionally with what Tomek just mentioned, with lower decreased costs of risk. We hope that these costs will gradually improve with time. When we take a look at different ingredients here, we have more detailed slides, so when we have more graphics. Here we have a table, and what we can see here, it was total profit increasing, mainly to the interest rates, that 15% in total in profits. But when we talk about the quarter itself, then we have 19% of costs. Well, costs, when we talk what we forecasted, that was the average inflation with the clearing of the one-off events. And here we're going to the lower part of the table, maybe a word of comment. Maybe our margin, it's on a very nice level, over 6% now. But what we've communicated earlier on, we are still using this moment, using those costs of financing. However, we are expecting to be around 6%. So we here believe that this is one of the, if not the highest, then one of the highest NIMs in this sector. Then when we talk about the return on equity, it's on a very good level, to almost 28%. It's calculated on the average equity calculated from the first half. So when we go back to the next slides.
To illustrate for you some key lines of our P&L, so let us begin with interest income. So let me start from the graph that's top center. So take a look. Income has been stabilizing, or interest income has been stabilizing for the last 3 months at the level of 1.8 billion. And just like Grzegorz said, we're working on the cost of funding. And you see that below, the dotted lines in the first quarter is lower compared to in terms of interest cost, 673 versus 707. So we're talking about, well, there are 3 main reasons why the situation is the way it is. First of all, migration is happening at a similar level. So customers migrate to deposits, and it's plus, well, more or less 30%. When you see the credit market and the loan market, and it's sort of plateaued, so we decided that we need to do something about interest costs. And we can optimize things, for example, for savings accounts or for deposits. We can optimize the costs that we bear. And there is the third factor, namely our portfolio of IRS is, well, impacts us less, or impacts the interest cost less, 14 million less. And you will find that in one of our notes about interest income. So again, our margin over 6, which is super satisfying. Cost of funding for the first time in many quarters has been decreasing, which I think is very much in line with the trends that we see out there. And it's something that we're trying to take advantage of. So on this slide, let me just tell you a little bit about loan to deposits. Loan deposit ratio is at a high level, and we want to have as many over deposits to also work, just like our loan portfolio. That's why our loan to deposit ratio is over 82%. So let's move to commissions income, 4% growth year on year. And you can see that we are very transparent about some of our observations. So you can see the bullet points below. So for example, there are some foreign currencies factors, there are some accounting factors. So things have been moving from quarter to quarter due to certain factors. So the results you can see on the slide is at a satisfactory level, and it's maintaining at a 2-digit level. And we're growing in the insurance segment. As we said, our ambition is to maintain the quarterly result over 200 million. And if we are to choose between shifting costs onto customers in this line and protecting our relationship with them, we're focusing on the foundation on which our strategy is built, namely customer relations. And we really want to take care of everyone relationship-wise who is coming to our bank. So, our operating costs have been growing at a 2-digit pace. It's more or less in line with average annual inflation rate, 14%. This is what we see when we exclude one-off events. Last year, there was a contribution. We had to make a contribution to the whole system for protecting and assisting commercial banks. But when you look at different business lines, definitely wages are growing, and this is what's happening in the whole economy. It's happening across the sector. We're doing benchmarking all the time. Therefore, 16% is something that's like the industry average, I would say. So this is the yellow part of the graph, the yellow bar, general and administrative costs. But there are, we see more amounts going to borrowers support, the guarantee fund. We have higher IT expenses, and we have higher costs of rent, property, utility bills, and so on and so on. We'll be optimizing these costs, and Grzegorz mentioned that we will use photovoltaics in our data centers, which will help us optimize costs a little bit. When we look at cost to income, it is right now at a very good level of 35–36%, depending on how you look at it. But of course, this is to be expected, so to speak, in terms of cost, but in terms of income, again, we also have a comfortable situation due to our interest income. So now let us take a look at our strategy from the point of view of key metrics and key indicators. So this is something that's really nice, but it's just 1/4 of our strategy. So ROE, it's at a very good level, of course, but this is annualized, right? But very good. Cost to income, again, from the point of view of our strategy, very comfortable. And I think, we still have some distance to cover before we hit 45, but we're comfortable. Tomasz mentioned our equity, Tier 1 and TCR, very safe, and our profit for the first half year has not yet been included. And when it comes to credit risk, again, a very decent, very solid situation. So now let's tell you about some of our, let me give the floor to all those of you who want to ask questions. These are our main, let's say, messages. So the first question is about guidance for COR for the second half. So in your guidance, are you looking at some one-off events or are you being conservative? For now, we can't see any special risks for our results in the second half. But whenever we think about the future, we think in terms of scenarios. So we include some negative scenarios as well. And probably you have gotten used to the fact that we are a little bit conservative in our guidance. There's always a dose of healthy conservatism. Are your current administrative costs like the base for the rest of the year? Thank you for this question. Yes. If we exclude the 25 million that are sort of committed to other costs like litigation, and yes, you can assume that after excluding the 25 million, I've mentioned the mid-double digit, because this is what we're assuming for the rest of the year. Right, thank you. The following question: how much can you decrease your cost of funding given the fact that your hedging comes to maturity in the second half? Well, you've seen that already. So there is a certain effect already between Q1 and Q2. We're talking about 14 million better. So one could have assumed around 40 million less in interest costs, but just like Tomasz mentioned, we issued some bonds and to make sure that we're MREL compliant, and we will have to, of course, take that cost into account. We'll have to recognize that it's around 20 million to service these bonds. The following question: what about the appeal of mortgage loans apart from the 2% safe mortgage loan? What is the interest in it? To what extent it's becoming popular? Maybe your sales in Q2 was like a bump in demand because people were afraid that the 2% loan is not going to come back. So what do you expect for the second half of 2023? Well, of course, in the second quarter, there was some rebound in terms of demand because many people wanted to buy a residential unit knowing that they would not be eligible for the 2% safe mortgage loan. But it was not the only factor at play. First of all, the regulator has changed their approach to the buffer amounts. And again, people's credit worthiness has increased. And again, many people have been postponing their housing, residential needs for over a year. At the same time, their wages have been growing, so they might be more eligible to go and take out mortgage loans. We do see higher demand in mortgage loans, not at a large scale, but still, I would say availability of residential units will become a challenge because, well, for the mortgage loan market to be able to go back to a high scale, the supply side will have to move. But when we're looking at the construction sector, we do have exposure, and we see that the toughest periods are already behind us, and actually we've survived the toughest period in good shape, and you can see that reflected in cost of risk and in
Bardzo
NPL.
dziękuję, Grzegorz.
Thank
Kolejne
you.
pytanie.
The following
Jaki był
question.
wpływ zawiązania
What was
dodatkowych
the
rezerw na
impact
sprawy
of
sporne
additional
na
provisions
koszty
for
operacyjne w drugim kwartale?
disputes and
To
litigation? What was the
27
impact
milionów,
on
które państwo znajdą,
operating
w
costs?
pozostałych,
Well, it's
kosztach,
27
natomiast
million. You can
25 to
find
są
that,
koszty
and the
ponadstandardowe
25
wobec
million
tego, co
is
planowaliśmy.
sort of over of
Bardzo dziękuję,
what we
Radku.
expected initially.
Kolejne pytanie. Jak
The
Alior
following
zamierza
question,
wykorzystać
how are you
nadwyżkę
going
kapitałową
to
przy rosnących
use
kapitałach,
your capital
przejęcie nowych
surplus?
banków,
So,
przejęcie nowych banków stają otworem.
well,
Czy bank
now
rozważa potencjalne
there might be a
przejęcia?
possibility to
Kiedy
acquire
może
another
pojawić
bank.
się
Are you
dywidenda?
considering it? And when can dividends be paid?
Powraca.
Well, this question
Nasza
has
strategia
been sort of
zakłada
reverberating and going back.
organiczny,
Our strategy
ale też
talks about organic
już
growth,
też
of
publicznie
course,
wypowiadałem się,
but I've already
że oczywiście
mentioned that in public
były takie
on the record
możliwości
that,
i
well, if we
bank było stać, myślę, że
could
jeszcze to
afford
nie ten
it,
czas i pora.
well, I
miał
don't think
odpowiednią
it's
nadwyżkę
not the right,
kapitałową,
I don't think it's the
oczywiście
right time,
musi rozważyć różne
not
scenariusze,
now, but if we
ale
had
te,
additional
które zawsze
funds, we
będą
have
miały
to think
pozytywny
about
wpływ,
alternative scenarios, but
na
we
bank,
always have to look
i
at
te,
scenarios
które
that will have a
dostarczą,
positive impact
pozytywny
on our
wpływ
bank.
na
So
wzrost
we need
wartości dla akcjonariusz. I to
scenarios
jest
that will
kluczowe
increase
kryterium.
shareholder
Bo
value.
oczywiście,
That's our key concern.
Na razie koncentrujemy się na wzroście
First of all,
organicznym,
we're focusing
budujemy
on
nadwyżkę
organic growth.
kapitałową.
We're
Pamiętajcie też
building
państwo, że rosną wymogi
equity
MREL-a
surplus,
w
but
przyszłym roku.
minimum
Dzisiaj
requirements
zysk, akumulacja tego
in
zysku
terms
jest dzisiaj
of
dla nas najtańszym sposobem
liabilities
pozyskania kapitału,
are growing.
który nadal
So
jest drogi. Te
capital
wymogi
or
związane
funding is still expensive.
z pozyskaniem kapitału nadal, pomimo tego, że
So
poprawiły się znacznie od zeszłego
the
roku,
situation has
nadal
improved
stanowi,
compared to last year,
duże,
but still,
duże wyzwanie. Może
capital
stanowić
is
też istotny
expensive,
koszt na
getting
przyszłe
funding
lata,
is
więc musimy
expensive, and
tutaj
it could still be a
zachować,
challenge for the years to come.
równowagę
So we do have
i
to
bezpieczne
maintain
podejście, tak,
balance.
żeby
We
nie
do have to
ograniczać rozwoju
stay safe because we don't want to curb or hinder our
Bardzo
organic growth.
dziękuję.
Thank
No
you.
i kolejne pytanie.
The following
Jaka
question.
jest wrażliwość banku na
What's
100
your
bipsów spadku
sensitivity
stopy
to
procentowej?
100
No, te pytania
BPS
pewnie coraz
of
częściej będą się pojawiać
a
w komunikacji tutaj ze
decrease
strony
in interest rates?
NBP.
So what would happen?
Jasne, dzięki.
How would you be
To
impacted?
absolutnie tak jak powiedziałeś.
Indeed.
My tak oczywiście wrażliwość tutaj
well,
podajemy w sprawozdaniu rocznym.
We
natomiast
are
patrząc
stating
obecnie,
our sensitivities
na to,
in our annual
i
statements,
zakładając oczywiście tutaj
but
szereg
when we're
założeń,
looking
że
at
przez
what the
12
situation
miesięcy
is
w tym razie się
bringing,
przeszacuje nasz
we're making
portfel
some assumptions, of
kredytowy
course,
i też dopasujemy,
so we can
w miarę
reestimate
oczywiście kierując się
our
elastycznością,
loan portfolio,
tutaj naszej strony
and we do
depozytowej.
have
To
some
mówimy o
flexibility on the
200
deposit side,
milionach
but we're
złotych
talking
na
about, let's say,
100
200
pierwszych punktów
million
procentowych.
zlotys for the first 100 BPS.
Bardzo dziękuję, Radku. Kolejne
Thank you.
pytanie.
The following question.
Pozostałe koszty. Jaki rodzaj rezerw
Additional
na ugody
costs.
został
What
zawiązany
kind
w
of
drugim
provisions
kwartale?
for
Czy
settlements
chodzi o portfel
have
CHF?
been
Czy te koszty będą
established?
powtarzać się w
Are we
kolejnych
talking about the Swiss
kwartałach?
francs portfolio?
tutaj
Are these costs going to recur in the coming quarters? No, we're not talking about legal risk costs. Maybe you remember there was a statement from the Ombudsman, and we have, when we're looking at the number of litigations just for Swiss francs, then the provisions that we have established
Bardzo
are enough.
dziękuję, Radku. Kolejne pytanie.
Thank
Czy
you so much.
transakcja
Next
sprzedaży
question.
NPL, która
Whether
miała miejsce w
NPL
drugim kwartale,
transactions, sales
dotyczyła
transactions in the
sprzedaży
second quarter,
portfela
was that
detalicznego?
about the retail
Jeżeli nie, to
portfolio or
skąd
not?
wynika
If not,
spadek
then why do we see the decrease of NPL? That was from both segments. However, definite majority of it, that was retail. That was 280 million, and the retail customer, individual customer, was the definitely dominant part, and that was the main reason for the reduction.
Bardzo dziękuję.
Thank you.
Jak rozwija się
Great.
projekt
How is
BNPL-a?
the project
Rozwija się na tyle dobrze, że w
BNPL
drugiej połowie roku
growing?
zgodnie z
Well,
zapowiedzią
it's
zaoferujemy go do
growing fast enough so
całego
that,
rynku,
according to our
tak żeby
forecast, we're
każdy
going to offer it for the whole
potencjalny
market, so that
klienci mogli
everyone,
korzystać.
potential
Jest
clients as well, can use it.
na ścieżce
It is on the path to
rozwoju. Dodatkowo
be
planujemy
developed.
również
We also
wdrożenie
are planning an
kolejnych
implementation
funkcjonalności,
of
które
new
komunikowaliśmy,
functionalities that we had
w
communicated
strategii tak zwanej
in our
pensji na życzenie,
strategy.
czyli dodatkowego
That
właśnie
is the
finansowania
remuneration
krótkoterminowego. Więc, te wszystkie
on the go,
wdrożenia
which means
nastąpią
this is
w
an
drugiej
additional
połowie
possibility to
roku i będą
finance
szeroko
of financing,
komunikowane
and it's
dla
going to be
państwa
implemented
rozszerzenia.
in the second half of the year. You will be communicated and informed
Wspaniale,
about
bardzo
it.
dziękuję. Kolejne
Okay,
pytanie.
thank
Jaka
you.
jest
Next
wartość bilansowa
question. What is
brutto
the
portfela
balance
kredytów hipotecznych
net
w walutach
value
obcych ogółem
of
i
the
ile w tej wartości
mortgage
stanowią
loans in the
CHF-y?
individual clients and
Jeśli chodzi o CHF, to jest 130 milionów
CFH,
złotych.
what is
To
it?
jest
It's
wartość
140
bilansowa,
million of PLN
kredytów
of
denominowanych
the
w franku szwajcarskim.
denominated
Bardzo
mortgage
dziękuję.
loan in the Swiss
Kolejne
francs.
pytanie.
Okay, thank you very much. And next question.
Na MoneyPL pojawił się artykuł o fali
On
pozwów dotyczących
MoneyPL,
kredytów
we had an
detalicznych
article
w ramach
about
sankcji
the whole
kredytu
wave
darmowego,
of
na przykład
the
źle wskazana
legal
kwota kredytu. Czy to
applications on the
dotyczy
credits.
Aliora?
And does that concern
Wszystko,
Alior Bank
co,
as
że
well
tak
or
powiem,
not?
tutaj dotyczy naszego
Well,
banku, to oczywiście
everything that
jak
may
najbardziej
touch
to
our bank
ryzyko
is
kwantyfikujemy
always
i
quantified in the
wyceniamy na
risk
wszystkie,
and
tutaj
evaluated
sporne
as a
sprawy,
risk, and all
zakładamy
the
rezerwy, oczywiście
legal
kierując się opiniami,
issues
prawników,
are
czy to
included
wewnętrznych, czy
here, so we
zewnętrznych.
are
I
taking
absolutnie
our
tutaj jest
advices of our
wyciągane
in-house and outside external lawyers. And this is how we adjust to this. However, this does not change the fact that this article, well, it's yet another dangerous attempt to find some business through the legal offices. And I believe this is, in the future, this is going to be quite a big challenge to regulate the market of loans, especially that to make sure that clients are going to be able to pay back the loans. Otherwise, we'll have to consider having such products
Bardzo
at all.
dziękuję. Wydaje mi się, że
Thank you very much.
wyczerpaliśmy
I believe
już
that that would
pytania.
be all
Jeżeli
from
jakiekolwiek pytania
as far as
spłyną,
the
oczywiście
questions
odpowiemy
are
na
concerned.
nie. I
If
oczywiście
should we
też
have
wszystkich
any, then of
serdecznie
course we'll
zapraszam do zadawania
answer
pytań na naszą
them.
skrzynkę
I
relacji
definitely encourage all
inwestorskich.
of
A
you
teraz to
to
bardzo
send
dziękuję panu
your
profesorom
questions
za
to our
prezentację. Bardzo dziękuję państwu
inbox.
za uwagę.
Thank you very
No i
much for the
zapraszamy oczywiście
presentation.
na
Thank
kolejne
you
wyniki.
for your attention
Dziękuję.
and
Dziękujemy państwu.
stay tuned for the next results. Thank